Hello and welcome to this episode of Wise Human. Today I have with me Brandon Damon. He is and has been in the creative space for years. He owns and operates the marketing company Breaker Digital, which is his second company. We will talk about that in a moment. And the company manages social media and websites for customers as well as creates content. Welcome, Brandon. Thank you for being here.
Hey, Nicole, thanks for having me on the chat today.
Yeah, I'm super excited to dive into this with you because you are an entrepreneur. You have done this from the beginning. And I think that a lot of people have a desire to be an entrepreneur, myself included, but like, where do we even start? So if we could go back to kind of the beginning of your journey, how did you find yourself? Where did this start? How did you find yourself on this path?
Well, photos and videos really have been taking a hold of our lives a lot more recently in these recent years. But, back in, I don't know, 2008, was it? Or no, that was when I graduated college. But 2004 was high school. And really, that's where I started playing around with cameras. And then I had a group of friends that skateboarded, and we filmed together and skated together. And I saw that one of my friends was on a Mac computer. I thought, hey, I could do this. Them really bubbly Macs that were
Oh,
about out
yeah.
that day that you in classrooms and stuff. But they had iMovie, and they could make little edits on there. I thought, hey, that's pretty cool. I didn't know at the time it could be a career thing or whatever. I knew people made films and movies and stuff with it, but nevertheless, I saw it and thought, yeah, I could do that. So it kind of started in high school, took a video one class. I got lucky that my mom, who's involved in my life, she said, hey, you should go to school for something that you're passionate about. It looks like you like this video thing. And she had the vision too, to be like, there's a future in this, there's something here that's going to evolve. And so she made the suggestion to go to school, and so I went to Fair State for 4 years, Fair State University in Big Rapids, and television and digital media production was the major up there. And so it was really a heavy analog program at the time, though. So there's a lot of analog switchboard, and which they were behind in. In that day and age, things were transitioning to digital really heavy. And so, they were behind, and they didn't have DSLRs at that time either. Even the studio equipment was kind of old, and they were a little more television broadcast focused, when the world was quickly changing to this DSLR journalism, single shooter format, documentaries and things like that. And still, of course, there's the television world was always there, but this kind of like way of being able to tell stories with DSLRs was really kind of just getting popular at that time. Anyways, they changed their program, and while I was there in a couple of years, in the 2 years, it was kind of really heavy analog. And then the second couple of years, a professor came along and tweaked it, and got everything digital and learned a whole bunch of great stuff. So it was really kind of mix. It was a good experience to get a mix of the education, but then start to get into the new world at the same time and kind of see that. But of course, you get out of school, and then you're like, what did I learn really? Because then you get to really put it to practical use once you leave school. And so what a good thing about that program, though, up at Fair State, is that they have the 6-month internship was part of getting the diploma. So I didn't get my paperwork until I did 6 months, a certain amount of hours, and I worked like 9 to 5 for free for like 6 months or something like that.
You
And
probably
then
paid to work, actually.
yeah, yeah, I paid to work for about 6 months, but that was part of the program's requirements, and it was good because it built relationships for me that maybe I wouldn't have had otherwise. And so leaving school, I went to Grand Rapids and worked for a wedding videographer there. That was the internship. I got lucky enough to
Uh,
land the part-time at a public access station called WKTV, which is south of Grand Rapids in Wyoming, in Kentwood down there. Um, so another big mix of experiences there too. The wedding videographer with the internship. There's a lot of good learning experiences there, and he kind of shot more in like a cinematic type way. So seeing some of the stuff that he did with camera motion and movement and all this stuff and editing and theories of why he edited stuff was a good background knowledge and practical knowledge because I was doing all that. So I kind of got to see how kind of cameras moved a little more cinematically. And then when it came to public access, it was a little more, it was analog stuff, but then I upgraded them to HD and kind of saw what public access productions kind of look like and kind of, could compare and contrast that way and learned a lot of good stuff through that, through the years I spent there too. So that was really the early part of it. And I had a 5-year career at public access, and I was just freelancing the whole time on the side, and kind of just kept my own stuff going on the side so I could continue to learn. I did everything. I did some union stuff, and then of course after the internship ended, I was freelancing for that guy, shooting weddings and editing weddings all at the same time. I was working at the public access station, so if I wasn't there, then I was doing wedding video. Yeah, shooting and editing all that on the weekends or whenever I could. So
yeah,
that was the early years.
sounds like you got a lot of great practical experience right out the gates. I mean, even before you left school. So that probably helped you even solidify more of what direction you wanted to go into. And have you always been video or photography as well?
Yeah, I that's my it was always focused on video all over the years, and that's where the start was, and the vision was set with video. But then when I came out and um I would dabble in it during those early years and shoot some, take a few pictures here and there, but you know from the people that I knew in the industry, I never wanted to call myself a professional photographer, even though I was doing it and people wanted it. They would pay me for it. I just didn't think I knew other photographers that were way better, and they would use this tool, the DSLR, to so much more of a maximum than I would. I kind of just was pushing through it, just kind of doing what I needed to do to get by and shoot the gig or whatever. But I knew so many professionals, I didn't want to call myself a professional either. But eventually I had to own up, because when I got that the mortgage shop job, um, they wanted photos, and I had the time to teach myself other techniques, flash photography and everything like that with the DSLR. So then I was like, I guess I got to call myself a professional now, because I'm actually, you know, taking good photos. But it was just
Mhm.
like a personal thing
Yeah,
with
yeah, you
myself.
gotta own it at some point.
Yeah, I just didn't want to, claim it as something I did. It wasn't a huge focus. But then as technology continued to progress, and DSLR, its role in shooting photos and video, they make it so easy to do both. It just
Mhm.
became a need to eventually cross over and then get on the photo side too. Now I do a mix of them both all the time on jobs. Pretty typical. So
Okay. So you went from public access to your corporate job. That was the path.
yeah, well, there was actually another good story in between there. So in between leaving public access in Grand Rapids, I got I was trying to launch my own business. I'm like, yeah, maybe I can, because there wasn't a lot of opportunities at the time. It was like 2013. Leaving Grand Rapids was like feeling like you're leaving a town that was kind of felt capped. It kind of felt like there was like a younger group around that time that was kind of like holding down their positions, not really giving, so I'm like, I'm leaving this town. I'm going to go back to the east side of Michigan where I grew up and see um, what I can do over there and see what I can get going. And so, because I knew I could move back with my dad for free. And so I was like, forget it. I need a change. It's been 5.5 years. I gotta move on. And I didn't know if opening my own thing was going to be a reality or if I could land somewhere and do something. But for a year there in 2013, the entire year of 2013, I was before the corporate job, I was working for this other guy out of Lansing who was like an entrepreneur, said he was working a startup, ended up being a crooked salesman who sold.
Oh no.
He would sell like Salesforce and CRM software, but then he had, it was just another good learning lesson, really, because I looked him up online even before accepting the job, and he was, he had all kinds of complaints on him and stuff like this, and I still was like, I need some work, so I still took it anyway, and that was pretty wild how that ended. But he was just a scammer. But long story short, there, I was out a few thousand to this guy, and he wouldn't pay me, but I knew he got paid from the client. So I actually called the client and like, hey, I know you paid Dan. I know you paid him. And he's like, yeah, I did. The client was like, yeah, I did pay Dan. All right. Blah, blah. So I confronted this guy and I was like, dude, where's the money you owe me? And then he wanted to fight me and I left his office. And it was a great learning experience.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So that was really great. He had like his mom in the office. It was like when he didn't really originally introduce these people to me as this way, but it was like his wife was like HR and his mom was accounting and his uncle was head of sales and all this weird stuff. But anyways, that was a great learning experience. I made a certain amount of money out of that until he ripped me off, and I was like, whatever. All right. So I worked for a year, and that was really kind of me learning my position as a contract employee during that year. So because he would always be like, hey man, I want to make you full time, come on. And so he would bait me into coming to the office all the time, and you don't have to come in as a contract employee. You can work from home, if you're contract. But he'd be like, yeah, I want to make you full time. Come on, come on, come on. So I would always be going into the office, trying to be a good worker and wanting to, work. I would find myself there all the time. So that was kind of like the learning experience of that. But then I got the dream job at the mortgage shop that everyone said was the job you should be happy to have, and which paid really well, and I eventually got there. So it was great. It was great to sign on with that company, but everything changes over time.
Definitely. And everything serves you maybe in one phase of your life, but not the next. Like it might just be a stepping stone to get you to the next.
Absolutely.
Like the guy that ripped you off. Well, what's the lesson that you learned in that you were able to take forward in your own business?
Right. Yeah. Every level of this that we're talking about, had its own good lesson in it, and something that I now look back and I go, oh man, that was rough at the time, but it was a really good learning experience. And so, I mean, out of that guy in 2013, that was the big learning experience for me, was the relationship between your employer as a full-time worker or as a contract guy. So I apply that towards my own business by knowing my relationship to everyone that I partner with up for my own business. And sure, I have people that want to hire me full time, but I'm doing everything contract right now, which is fine. But it just educated me as far as where I stand when I'm going to bid for this work, and my relationship to these people and what they can ask for and what they can't, and what's mine, what they can't ask for as a creator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So flashing forward to the end of your corporate career, what shifted there? What made you decide to go all in on your business?
So I really was trying to hold on for like 4 years at that mortgage shop. And at the end, they were cool. They wanted to pay for everything when I would travel. And they did, but there are some little things, little nitpicky things that they wouldn't pay for, which was really weird, like miles in between headquarters and just some things I was a little, I don't know, kind of left clueless on why they were just being picky and just kind of, they were just making my job harder to do is what they were doing in the last, man, I would say last 6 months, but it was really more than that. Um, and yeah, just really just making my job harder to do. They moved my office like 5 times or 6 times in like the 5 years. I wasn't even there for 5 years. I was in the almost 4 years I was there. Moved my office a bunch and put me on a software that I would have to start edits and tag it in, and then stop edits and tag out. They wanted to time everything I did and after them you know and a lot of disrespect too, right from my manager directly, which that was the worst relationship I had there too, was with my own manager, because I managed myself the entire time at this job. It's not like they came down and like, hey, Brandon, we need this done. There was a little bit of that at the beginning, but then I took that little bit that they gave me and we grew it, and I really showed them the whole bandwidth of what we could do. And you know, so I managed myself the entire time there, and really in the last like 6 months there was just so much disrespect for my direct manager, because not only the software did they put me on, but they also wanted to put another manager who wasn't there as long as me, of course, because when I started it was like 3 people in the IT department, and I was just grouped in with IT doing photo, video, and web graphics and stuff, but mainly photo and video was the main function. And then I was just grouped in with IT, but then they grew up now almost 4 years later, they grew to a department of like 25 people in IT. So he was trying to put another manager that of course wasn't there as long as me, in between me and this original manager that I had. So just more things to make my job difficult. So I got to report to him. And it was really weird doing that, because being the video guy and photo guy, I worked with all the departments. I worked everyone from the top to the bottom, the big CEO, everyone. So I had a relationship with all departments and everyone liked me. And so, yeah. I mean, the level of disrespect towards the end, I was just like, it was just like one day I'm like, I tried to stick it out for 4 years, but it got to a point to where I was like, man, if it's really this bad, I really just need to quit. And so I went in the next day. I said, it was a little bit earlier than what I had planned, but I was ready. I had the opportunity, was ready. I had some savings, and I really knew, because the time that I was there, even in the 3 and almost 4 years I was there was plenty of times where I thought, okay, I'm doing something here for them. This is only going to take me so long, and then I'll work on my own stuff. And I thought there's plenty of times I'm there being forced to be there for a 40-hour work week and going, man, if I wasn't here, I could be doing this. I could be doing something else that's going to make me money, or something else that I could be doing that's more beneficial for me and my own personal growth, whether that be that or shooting more video or anything, anything that would be adding value to myself. There was a lot of those times. So that's kind of how I knew I mean, I had something there, but I mean, that was really a big learning lesson from that was, get your pens and pencils out for this one, but like people that other people, because there was a lot of doubters at that time, like and really the lesson is that if other people don't see your vision or your path forward as far as something that you want to do with your life, or thinking that you could take a chance on yourself, and you kind of have a little gut instinct that, hey, maybe if I did this or worked these hours or worked a few extra hours at night or something, whatever it is, if you think it's a possibility and you see the pathway yourself and you take the chance, do it, because other people are going to doubt because they don't see the path. They're not on the path that you're on, So that was a huge thing, because I got a lot of people going, what are you going to do in 5 years? That CEO of that mortgage company, when I quit, the day I went in to quit, I gave him my 2 weeks. He kind of, like, what I realize now, he said, like, to me, like, was like a backhanded compliment or comment, really, was like, what are you going to be doing in 5 years? And I was just like, well, I'm going to be, working my own business, helping people market, promote with video and photo. I didn't think much of it then, but, little stuff like that. And then I also was going to get married that year too. And I didn't know that the other side of the family had their own doubts as well. They're going, what's Brandon quitting this job for? And does he know what he's doing? And then because you got a big wedding coming up, you got a big expense right there. And I, paid for my wedding. I believe it was, yeah, for the most part, yeah, besides some gifts, we pretty much paid for it. Um, and yeah, so the stakes were high. But if you see the vision yourself and you can do it, I'm encouraging anyone today to
Mhm.
take the chance on themselves and do it. Of course, you want to make your preparations and make sure you're ready, mainly financially, to take that risk. Because if you don't have a little bit of money saved up for your business, you don't have any money to put into your business, then the unfortunate fact is you probably don't have much of a business. Um, I'm really conservative. Like I said, it took me 10 years to build up. It was like 9 years, until I paid off all my debt. And then the opportunity to quit this job came about. And I was still trying to make excuses to stay there for 4 years. And it was bad. Like, what was I doing?
It was time for you to go. I feel like the universe, God, whatever you want to believe in, like tells you, gives you signs, and they get louder and louder and louder when we don't listen to the whisper. So eventually you probably would have been fired over something stupid because you
Yeah.
weren't supposed to be there anymore. Your path, you had learned what you needed to learn, and it was time to level up, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. The universe was definitely nudging me in directions. And then, if you are lucky enough to keep your vision on your goals and keep your own motivation close to what you want, and if you can get your actions to follow, then yeah, you can follow that path that's presented for you,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
And in doing so, so starting your own business, how do you or how did you keep the motivation up in, there's no deadlines really at that point. You could make excuses all day about why you don't need to do this till tomorrow, but how did you keep that motivation and dedication and also balance the demands of your own business and your personal life? Like, you just got married. You have your personal life to maintain as well.
Right. Yeah, that was really hard at the start, was really kind of finding that balance, because people, you tend to just fall into the hustle all the time, hustle mentality, but like that's not all that it's cracked up to be, and you don't have to be working all the time either, to bring value to your business and stuff like that too. But what was the question? I want to make sure I answer your question.
Kind of asked you like multiple questions. How did you stay motivated? And then how did you balance work life when owning your own business?
Okay, yeah. So the motivation part is definitely relevant right now, because I am going to be 37 and I've been doing this for 5 years. That's not even that long of a time. But, they have all kinds of benchmarks for people that have their own business. They're like, oh, the first 2 years, if you make past that, or they say, oh, the first 5 years, I'm like, what are these? Who's making up all these times? But anyway, I'm doing it for 5 years, and I'm kind of checking those boxes of going, okay, I'm motivated, right, for the right reasons, because really my motivation over the years all just came from passion of liking to tell story through the medium of video, and people always are like, my clients are like, don't you think it's boring shooting us doing plumbing stuff or whatever? I got a plumbing client, and they're like, don't you think it's boring? What we do is so boring, blue collar, whatever. And I'm like, okay. And my other clients of mine are kind of are definitely in that blue collar vein. But it's pretty, that's not like the most exciting, flashy stuff. Guys climbing mountains or anything like that, or anything crazy, compelling. But that is the entire challenge when working with photo and video. And that's kind of how I stayed motivated over the years, was just being excited to tell other people's story through photo and video. And even though they thought it was boring, we turn around and look at the final product and I go, look at this. They go, oh, sweet. They like it. I make them look good and make their business look good and help them share all that stuff. So that's fun and fulfilling. And so that's been the motivation over the years. But now recently I'm like definitely checking back and going and make sure I'm motivated and in small little times that I have downtime. I go, should I be working right now? And there's definitely those times in the early times where it's easier to make that excuse and just work late and stuff. But now I'm making sure that there's time off and, vacations get planned, but there is always that in the first half of this, it was like you didn't want it to stop. If my phone doesn't ring tomorrow, then it's like it's all over, and that's kind of where
Mhm.
that also a lot of gratitude comes in to it too, because I'm like thankful for everything every day. I'm like, this is awesome. um Everything's great. I've got people who like me and they like my work and they want to pay me to do it, and wow, I can't believe it. Like, and it is that thought always, oh man, well, I guess everything could change tomorrow. Like, but that's always the fear. And then so there's that balance when you're trying to like take a vacation, you're like, and then now I've learned to find that balance to go, everything's not over just because I'm not working next week. I'm off. I'm going to New Orleans. Like, it's okay. Like, you'll be fine. So, and
Yeah.
just having the
And you need
confidence.
that time to rest.
Yeah. Yeah, that stuff's important too, because yeah, you'll get drained and you want to make sure that you're rested and you're able to put out the best work you can for your clients. What I do is it's a skilled trade, but it's also a service industry. I'm serving clients that want to put content out for their businesses. And so there's a lot of nuance to that and each shoot and everything. So you want to be well rested so you can be sharp and do the best so you take care of yourself so you can take care of other people, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, can't give from an empty cup. I love that
Yes,
you take. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say that was a hard lesson too, because it was like and it feels selfish when you take care of yourself first. Yeah, I'm like, I have to get up, I got to work out and take care of myself so I can sit in front of the computer for hours on end for the rest of the day. So at first that felt really selfish, but then you realize that it's benefiting you for the long run.
Hmm. Yeah. I love that when you're talking about working with the plumbers, that you're able to tell their story in a way that probably is really visually stimulating. Like, I feel like just from watching movies, you can like see like a garbage bag floating in the wind, and it's like the most moving video, and that's a skill to be able to convey that emotion and the um what is it, like the mission of the company just through video.
Yeah, for sure. And it's something that, man, I don't know. Did I develop that over time or did I always have that? I don't know.
Oh,
Because it is
yeah.
like taking something simple and just following storylines, because I'm shooting a reality series now and you kind of attach. Sometimes it's a little bit of run and gun. So you have to follow certain storylines, whether you know if they're going to go somewhere or not. So if someone mentions the weather, you go, oh, let's take a shot of him saying that, and then a shot of the weather outside and make sure I have it just in case, because this could be a storyline
Mhm.
throughout the day or something. Um, you've got to entertain that kind of stuff. What was I lost. I was on a tangent there with that one. I'm not sure.
I was just complimenting you that you're able to make something that seems really like mundane into something beautiful, and then
Oh,
probably also reframe it for the people that are like, I'm just a blue collar worker, like this isn't great stuff, and then they see it through your eyes and they might have a different appreciation.
for sure. Yeah, that's definitely the fun part of what I get to do.
Mhm. So how have you updated your business over, the last 5 years with COVID and things changing and happening? So much more stuff is just completely online now. I would imagine there's probably more opportunity to create content. What has that looked like, and how have you pivoted in the changing times to stay current?
So that has just exploded over the last couple of years. There's all these kinds of people who are content creators and all this stuff. Like I said, people that do marketing, but That's a very non-descriptive word. There's all kinds of affiliate marketers, every different piece of marketing that can be done. Um, but what I've done over the years to change is really, I've been lucky that I'm like on this teetering decision making time that's like, am I going to take my business from intentionally small, which is just me and some contract guys every once in a while to do some website stuff and or second shooter stuff, and to something a little bit bigger, and so kind of being intentionally small has kind of allowed me to embrace those bumps a little bit more, and because I kind of make like a snowflake product. And that's what I made it all the way through COVID. I've got 3 really good clients and then a bunch of one-off stuff, of course, that comes and goes. But for my 3 really good clients, I do something for them that not many other people can step in and do, such as this reality show thing, to be able to tell this reality show story of the Doc Man. We've done 6 episodes now. And as me running a small man band and that kind of a thing, so it's relationship building, and which has allowed me to beat those tougher times. And I don't know if that's really been a change, but one pivot that did happen was going from all one-off work to making those regular clients and establishing regular clients on a monthly program of capturing the content and then distributing the content, all for them, doing all that work. So that wasn't really a reactionary change from COVID or any of the couple years that were kind of slow, but it was a transition that kind of came right before that. It really hit right at the early part of that for me, and I kind of changed the business model.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And you have to continue to grow and evolve, right? Anything's going to die if it doesn't change.
Definitely, yeah. And that's always a thought on my mind with all the changing technology, and then just the amount of young kids coming out with the cell phone. They can do great stuff with the cell phone. I'm not anti the cell phone, of people using that. I always tell business owners to use your cell phone. Hey, you can't afford to have me out, that's fine. Use your cell phone, capture the content. And young kids are doing that all the time. And so to stay on top of that new technology is definitely always a task that when I get everything else done, you gotta, or sometimes not even, sometimes you just have to upgrade, which I've done a lot of the last year. So if that's always a challenge.
Could you tell us more about what you offer clients through your business?
Yeah. So ideally, my ideal clients are my full-time clients that I'll make a site visit with them every month. Typically in a 12-month package. Now I'm selling like 6 site visits, but during these site visits, they usually last 3 to 4 hours. And I'll come up to their headquarters, or I'll go to the job site where they're actually performing the work, and I'll capture photos and video for regular social media distribution. So we're shooting with the intention of making reels and have still images as well to share on social feeds. But then also I'm logging all of this data, photos and video, to use in future videos if they ever need that. Or sometimes site visits, if some of these clients are like, hey, I've got a bunch of new employees, we need to do a photo shoot and take staff photos for this site visit. Okay, there's a certain value to that I can compensate for, and be flexible with clients and their needs, or whatever they need. So that the site visits is a main thing, but then from those site visits, we distribute all that content as well onto websites and social media. So everywhere, in all different formats. That's really the big pro of kind of getting a full-time creator like me, is someone that's going to manage your data. And as these platforms continue to change, I have, and because I do the distribution, I know what posts are successful. I come back, rework that material, and continue to help it be successful in a new format like Reels. When Reels came along, we reformatted a whole bunch of video to make it into a reel, but this video that we've had and built up over the years. So, it keeps the social feeds active. And then when people typically want something beyond that, like I call them like a one-off video, even if it's my full-time clients, they'll do a one-off video and that's all extra stuff. And or photos or whatever it is, whatever they need, really. But the routine is the site visits, and then distribution, which is like 2 to 3 posts a week on social media. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn are the main places where we're at right now. So that's the core of the business. Sometimes I get a little carried away talking about it because there's so much to it.
Yeah, yeah. And you said you also do websites as well, right? Or
Yes.
website management. So is that putting content on the website? Is it like
Yep.
auditing the website? What does that look like?
Yes. So I'll host websites if we built them. So we've built a couple websites that I host right now for clients. And then if they've got an existing website and I can it's got to be WordPress though. I only work on the WordPress platform. I can manage that site and make the updates from the content that I create. So if you're a full-time client of mine, you get licensed to use my stuff on your website and on your socials. So for my full-time clients, we're making blogs, and that's the best way to be in good rankings with Google as those platforms continue to change. The things that don't change are text, photo, and video. And so that's really what the core of my business is, what it's built around. And making our websites visible to these search engines, is a huge part of it too, with the content. And then I'll write a little write-up of whatever the subject matter is too. So
How do you stay on top of what the current trends are in making sure that like SEO is proper for each individual company?
that just goes from experience. I think Jackie's home. I hear the dog barking. That just kind of comes from experience, my own experience, and going, okay, so why doesn't my SEO look like, when I run search, why doesn't it look like other people's? So I gotta do Google search and stay on top of that just from like using the platform. So if I want to know what TikTok's about, I've got to be on there and I've got to use it. Just like new upgrades in Instagram and Facebook. To be a user of all that stuff is the best way to know, like, hey, this is how to stay on top of this, or this is what people are going to want to see, and that kind of goes back to the roots of how I found a good product and made a good product here. Was kind of just doing it for myself and promoting myself through photos and video online, using those same platforms that I use to promote businesses, so learning that for myself and then applying it to other businesses was really the win there.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense that being in it is one of the best ways to stay on top of it, because it's ever changing, and then there's new platforms coming out, and like navigating, is that something that you want to join that would be beneficial to your clients, or staying where you're at? What are a few tips just for anybody, if you had a few like simple marketing tips that anybody could add to their life or their content, whether, like you said, marketing is everywhere always, like whatever we put out of ourselves, even if we don't have a business, we're kind of marketing who we are to the world. So what do you recommend?
Let me close my door and I will.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So
Do you want me
good
to ask the question
marketing.
again?
No, I remember. So
Okay.
good marketing tips for ourselves, because yeah, you're right. Everything's marketing. We're all kind of in this world of social media. And so we're all kind of marketing ourselves. I would say the biggest thing when it comes to social media is consistency. If you can always do whatever it is that you do, your thing, whatever it's make a reel or go live, or take a photo, be consistent with it, number one. And then also it does kind of feel like nowadays we kind of have to be everywhere also at the same time. So you're like on Facebook and on Instagram and on LinkedIn. pick your main ones and hit those consistently. So you could probably do without Facebook. These young kids nowadays, they're on Snapchat and wherever you see your brand fitting, or what makes it easy for you to take that snap or the picture and put it out there, whatever makes your workflow easy, pick your platforms and be consistent.
Consistency is key.
Yep.
Okay. So, what about somebody who wants to start a career in marketing and content creation along the lines of what you're doing, not just, a YouTuber with their camera?
This would be tough for me because, the landscape has changed. And I want to say phones are getting used more, but they've always been a main tool in this. So don't be afraid to start with your phone. But really, regardless of something, if it was starting now or back when I was starting, I would say a big thing is just picking your subject matter. Really, what are you gonna highlight? Whose stories are you gonna tell? What are you gonna point your camera at? So if you can find a good subject matter, something that you can see a lot of interest in, then that's the path I would kind of pursue. That take whatever your medium is, whether it's recording with the phone or recording with the DSLR or whatever it is, or maybe you want to do high-end cinematics video or films, I shot on a red camera, whatever it is. Get your tools together, pick your subject matter, and then do it a lot. So if mine was kind of music videos, was something I still produce a music video here and there. But that was something that really kept me busy in the early years, was kind of picking that and doing a lot of music videos, and something that's going to put you in the middle of a lot of people. Pursue that. If you see I don't know, like a art club or I don't know, any kind of club, and you want to highlight what they do and they meet all the time, so I don't know, you got to pursue it and take action. Basically, that would be the biggest overarching theme of this. What I'm trying to say is that take action, and you got to have something to take action on, whether that subject matters worthy or not of your attention. But it's all about the content too. So
Pick something that you want to focus on, and then take action, even if it's messy action, right? Just take action,
for
one
sure.
step at a time. That's what I did with this podcast. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm starting a podcast, let's see what happens. And here we are. It's happened. I created a podcast. Look at that.
Exactly.
I
You're
got to
doing
work
the
on the
best thing.
consistency and showing up, but I'm doing it now. We brought it
Yeah.
back. It's happening.
Yeah, you're doing the best
Yeah,
thing that you could do, is starting to shoot interviews and log them, do whatever you do, and figure out the process along the way here.
exactly. Yeah. What are some of the parts of your job that you find most rewarding?
I would say getting a flexible schedule and being my own boss is really the big rewarding thing, and being able to say, yeah, I kind of do this of my own will, and things that I create are check between me and my clients. That's a big cool thing. I don't have like another manager just for the sake of a manager, above me, kind of thing. um or any kind of other silly rules. It's just we get straight to the most important task, and there's no meetings. It's great. But
Right?
yeah, so working for myself is definitely a rewarding part of it. But then being able to tell my clients stories, and being an advocate for them and their interests and the things that they want to do, and then making their digital, for lack of better terms, their digital dreams kind of come true, and let them be a player on this digital landscape that everyone wants to participate on this thing, and we're just doing a little bit extra as to stand out, to help other people stand out.
Mm-hmm. What have been some of the most challenging times and lessons that have come along with those?
Um, some of the most challenging times. I had a lot. I felt like, the story I told you about coming up and everything and having these different jobs, that was a big challenge, but kind of something, over the years. So I feel like I've had a lot of the bad times I like in the past. It's a nice feeling to be a good place
Mm,
to be at, right?
mhm,
But I always have my guard up, and I feel like at any moment, these new challenges, something's gonna come and pull the rug out. And some of it has been some website woes, figuring out new technologies, and something that, which I'm kind of halfway technical when it comes to computers. You kind of have to be, but some of these new areas that I'm in as far as network stuff now and storing all this data long term. Um, there's some new challenges when it comes to technology, and those kind of feel like dark times for sure when you're like, oh man,
mm,
I'm kind of on an island here and no one really cares about if I get this machine backed up or however, or other website errors that you can run into. And um, sometimes you are alone in finding those solutions, and you've got to just you know take action and go, what do I got to do right now that's going to make the most difference in solving this problem.
mm, mhm. Do you have people that you can reach out to when you're having, bigger issues that if you were a part of a team, you would sit down with them and discuss? Are there like forums that you go to or friends in the business that you reach out to, or do you Google and figure it out on your own?
For most of the stuff that's technical towards what I do specifically, I do Google answers, like I'm talking about this network server and some other stuff like that, network stuff, I would Google the answer for. But now a lot of my questions and hangups now are like, because I told you I'm kind of like on this, like keeping it intentionally small, or maybe I might hire someone like, now I'm asking my clients and other business people that are in that arena that have their own businesses. They're not in the same industry as me, but they might be a client of mine or something, and I can talk to them who are in a similar situation and go, oh, when do I know when it's time to hire people, and try and collect as much data information as I can on that. I'm reading books, about business. Um, you know, but as far as regular people to call, it would really probably be my own clients that I would bounce some of these ideas off of.
Hmm. So what's next for Breaker Digital?
Well, I think what is next is gonna be, this year is the year of Breaker Digital. I'm gonna be promoting that as much as I can, and um, getting the word out about that business, and just putting a ton of work under that name so I can continue to do the work on that side of for that, and trying to grow the regular business. That's what the focus is on, and maybe hiring I want to say like a part-timer, but it's probably going to be more like a do a task and I'll pay you for that kind of a thing, because I feel like that's would make more sense at this stage. um I'm really, like I said, I'm pretty conservative when it comes to business, and taking and not just growing for growth's sake, and not just putting the carriage before the horse, or whatever the saying is. um so I like want to make sure before I take on a employee that I can pay him all the time and pay him consistently, and which I can, but I'm being conservative. I don't want to, I want to make sure I got all my ducks in a row before I go ahead and do this, because would be a big step, and potentially change the course of the business. Once you get a little bit bigger, like I'm saying, 2 people or 3 people in a business is any bit bigger, but certain size businesses, it becomes hard to pivot, and you want to be able to act on your own, accord as well too. So kind of still in the research and development phase on that, I guess, but that's in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it sounds like that's something you could kind of ease into as well. Like you could even do like a 3-month contract with somebody where it's like, let's feel this out and see how this works. And then you get a taste of it. They know going into it what it is. So yeah, that's exciting.
Right.
And you can play with it and see. And who knows, maybe you'll have 5 employees next year, or you'll have none because you decide that's not for you. But I do want to just acknowledge and honor the fact that you want to make sure you're responsible for employees that you bring on and that you can provide for them. That's, I think, just in that, in and of itself, you're going to find amazing employees that are going to be attracted to you and that energy, because so many people are only out for themselves, and that's
Yeah.
not where you want to be coming from.
Yeah, exactly. You know, from the lessons that I've learned of people working for other people over the years, and how, like that crooked guy in Lansing that tried to, steal money from me, really did. But, I could never imagine starting a business without the intention of doing good business. I can't believe some people out there that just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, how many bridges can you burn when you can't go out to the local bar in your own town and everyone doesn't like you? You're like, I don't get that. Like, why
For
would you?
what, right?
Yeah, for what? Why would you want to do that? So if I didn't think I could do this ethically in the right way, then I wouldn't do it in the first place. So that is the goal. And getting people to work for you nowadays, it's it's a hard thing. And some people from the outside looking in are like, "Oh, what you do is so cool. It's easy, and all the kids want to do it. You should just be able to just hire someone." Uh, you know, I don't know. It's a little bit more finding the right fit, like you said. So hopefully the good energy that I've been putting out and focusing on this will cultivate into something good this year. I'm sure it will. Everything so far, it all comes in good time. So I'm excited about it.
Yes, always in good time, not always our time, though.
Yeah, that's right. But there's no shortcuts. If I didn't say that already, every little phase of
Ooh,
this that I'm talking about, there's no shortcut. Everything happened, and there was, like, when I look at it in stages, like how we talked about it in this chat here, um none of those stages could have been bypassed. There was other things coming into line that would push me along that journey, and then go, yeah, okay, we can do that. So it was a building process over the years.
yeah. And sometimes in the moments we don't see how things are being connected, but when we can look back in hindsight, we realize, oh, that challenging time or this situation needed to happen to prepare me for where I'm at right now.
Right. And I think that's where my kind of conservativeness, as far as taking steps forward with the business, has kind of helped, because I kind of let things develop, and then saw the time to seize it, and was able to capitalize on that, but was poised and ready. It's about you're doing the work right now for yourself. It could be inner work, it could be work on your actual work, but getting yourself prepared for that next level, and then when the opportunity is presented, you jump on it.
What is one way that you would say to people that they can prepare for the next level, for the
Hmm.
next level?
I would say, personal work is always great. I don't know if you see a therapist or anything like that, but, kind of getting a good perception of yourself and who you are, and where you came from helps, and stuff like that. But otherwise, just sharpening your skills on whatever task it may be. Maybe you are trying to become a better filmer. So film all the time. Want to become a better photographer, take photos all the time. So sharpening those skills in that way, I think, is the best way to be ready. Or if you want to look for the next business opportunity, read business books. And you know so you've got to be on a knowledge path to be, and kind of studying other people too, to a degree.
Yeah, continually learning and developing in whatever area you think you might want to go. And if you don't know, anything that sparks your interest, try it. Try the next thing. Try the next
Definitely.
thing, because you never know where the next vision is going to come from. And it might be the person that you sat next to on the bus. Who knows?
Right. And that makes me think too about this video stuff. Like, a lot of people do the video thing, and then it will lead to something else all the time. And I kind of am keeping a vision. I actually don't. I'm not really looking for that at all. I'm in it and I'm doing it. And it's kind of hard for me to see it turn into something else, but you never know. That's the whole thing. You got to pursue it. You got to try it. And then maybe in 10 years when I can't walk anymore or whatever, when I get too old and I
You're
can't
not
feel
that old. I hope you can
I
still
know,
walk in
no.
10 years.
I hope so too. But I'm
I
saying
hope you
if
can
my
run in 10 years, then jump.
but if my body ever fails me in the future and I
Yeah.
can't film anymore or something, hopefully the steps that I've been taking in preparation, I can fill that spot or whatever, so I can keep the business going or whatever the goal is.
Mhm.
So it's a constant pursuit, but also a balance, you know.
Definitely. Thank you so much for being here today. Is there anything else you would like to share in this moment before I ask my final few questions?
No, thanks for having me on the chat. It's been fun. So I'm glad we I felt bad I had to reschedule the first time. So I felt really bad because I don't reschedule stuff.
It's totally fine. The thing is that I find that when that happens, there's a reason. And I think I was feeling a little bit under the weather that day. So when you decided to cancel, I was like, honestly, I'm going to be able to probably show up better when we reschedule. So there's always a reason. But I appreciate you respecting my time. Definitely.
For sure. Yeah, thanks for
So
having
every everybody probably wants to know, how can we get in touch with you? Where can we find you?
Okay, so I'm on Instagram as B Damon Video, and also breakerdigital.com. And then that's the new websites. But of course, if you search Brandon Damon Video on Google, you'll find me. I think I got BrandonDamonVideo.com is still out there. Yeah, it definitely is.
You
Those would
do.
probably
I
be the
checked it
best
out
ways.
today.
Yeah, that's right. No, it definitely is. So BrandonDamonVideo.com. I also still have BrandonDamon.com. But see, all this stuff in my own name, it's just not making any sense anymore. But so
Okay.
BreakerDigital.com. Yes, we're all out there. That's it. That's where you should be able to find me.
Mhm. Excellent. So you can evolve to the next version of your company as a Breaker Digital. What is your current motto or mantra?
Um, the current mantra, which is funny because we got a chalkboard upstairs that we will write sayings on every once in a while, and we just had to come up with a new one for 2023. It's not for the full year, it's just for whatever right now. So I'm writing on there actually in progress because it's a chalkboard. I like to make it fancy. Uh, it says I wrote do what it takes. So that is the mantra right now. So whatever, basically to me, that means like whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm pursuing, pursue it to the fullest, 100% commit, whether it be the website problem, go after it, find the answer. I don't know. It's just like kind of like means fully commit to whatever you're doing. And yeah, we're going for it. We're going for it this year.
It's going to be a good year.
That's right.
Final question. If you could tell everybody in the world one thing and they would internalize it and really grasp what you're saying, what would you tell them? What do you want them to know?
Oh man, one thing for the message of the whole world.
Every single human being.
Okay, here it is. It would be that all of us that are conscious, we are all connected. We are all connected human beings because we are alive and we're awake and we share this thing called consciousness. And so, I mean, that's the tip of the iceberg for me. But I mean, if you believe that, then you'll treat other people, you know, as you should treat yourself, whatever the golden rule is. I don't know, but I think that's an important um, perception to have when it comes to relationships with other people and who we are as human beings and how we should value each other's lives.
That's beautifully said. Thank you. And thank you so much for being here today and sharing your wisdom and your story with us.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yep, it was fun. Thanks for having me. You're always fun to talk to, Nicole. So it was good.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. If you enjoyed this episode or found value in it, I invite you to like, leave a 5-star review, or share with a friend. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Thank you, beautiful human, so much for helping spread the word. Blessings to you. Until next time.